Silence, my friends, is not weakness. It's wisdom dressed in calm. It's the quiet before the truth lands. You didn't scream, you didn't chase, you didn't try to prove your worth for the 100th time. You simply stopped. No drama, no warning, no announcement. You just removed your energy from the equation. And that, folks, was the loudest move you could ever make. Because when people get used to your light, your silence becomes the storm that exposes everything they've been pretending not to see. At first, they thought it was just another phase. They waited for that familiar message, the "hey, just checking in" text, the one that always gave them comfort and ego in the same breath. But days passed, then weeks, and your silence stayed. Suddenly, what they called peace started to feel like punishment. They weren't ready for this version of you, the version that no longer needed to explain, defend, or be understood. That quiet strength shook their confidence because deep down they realized something terrifying: you were done performing for their attention. Here's the truth most people don't want to admit. They were never addicted to love, they were addicted to control. Your energy was their mirror. Your effort made them feel valuable, but the moment you took that away, their reflection shattered. They started wondering where that constant source of validation went. They began checking your page, replaying memories, searching for signs that you still care. That's the thing about silence. It doesn't beg to be understood. It forces people to face themselves. And no, my friends, this isn't revenge. Stoicism teaches us that revenge only binds you to the same chaos you're trying to escape. This is balance. You withdrew your energy, and the universe handled the rest. Your silence created space for truth to echo, and that truth is hitting them harder than any argument ever could. Because now they're sitting in the same uncertainty you once felt, staring at their phone, waiting for a message that isn't coming. That's poetic justice without cruelty. Think about it. When the noise fades, that's when people hear the truth. Your silence became their mirror, showing them everything they didn't want to see. It stripped away their illusions, their ego, their comfort. And it reminded them that love is not guaranteed when it's taken for granted. You taught them what respect looks like, not by fighting, but by walking away with composure. So, my friends, let this be your reminder. You don't owe your peace to anyone who thrives on your chaos. You don't have to prove your worth to those who only notice it when it's gone. Sometimes, silence isn't the absence of words, it's the presence of power. You showed them what growth looks like, and now they'll never forget the sound of your quiet confidence. By the time this message sinks in, you'll understand something most people never do. Silence isn't a gap, it's growth. It's not the sound of loss, it's the sound of becoming. You didn't stay quiet because you had nothing to say. You stayed quiet because you finally realized not everyone deserves front-row access to your peace. That's evolution, my friends, when your silence starts speaking louder than their excuses. So take this moment right now. Sit with that power that's been building inside you. Feel how far you've come, from begging for clarity to breathing freely in your own calm. That's not weakness, that's mastery. That's what happens when emotion turns into control. Now, I want you to say it like you mean it, out loud or in the comments below. My silence has power. Type it like a declaration, not just words. Let the world see that you didn't fold, you transformed. Let them feel that quiet confidence that can't be broken anymore. And if this truth touched something inside you, don't just scroll away. Hit that like button, subscribe, and share this message with someone who's finally learning to stay calm instead of chasing chaos. Because this story, my friends, was never about who walked away. It's about the one who finally stood still and rose higher than ever before. Number 1. The ego trap. They wanted you to chase forever. You see, my friends, some people don't want love. They want worship. They don't crave connection. They crave control. From the very beginning, they wanted to feel wanted, to be chased, to sit in that high chair of attention where every word from you became proof of their worth. It wasn't about affection, it was about power. Every time you reached out, they felt taller. Every time you explained yourself, they felt important. And that's where the trap was set. The ego trap. The more you gave, the less they valued it. Because your presence became predictable, your kindness became routine, and your loyalty became something they assumed would never run out. But you see, Carl Jung once said, "What you resist not only persists, but grows in size." They kept feeding their ego with your attention, not realizing that the very thing they were resisting, humility, was the thing they needed most. They kept playing the game, expecting you to chase forever. But here's what happens when a person finally breaks that pattern. The entire illusion collapses. Because power games only exist when both people play. The moment you stopped chasing, their power disappeared like smoke in the wind. At first, they didn't even notice the shift. They thought you were just tired, that you'd eventually text again. But slowly, their ego began to itch. That silence started echoing in places they never expected. In the morning scroll, in the quiet before sleep, in those random moments when they'd think of you and realize you hadn't thought of them. The ego can survive rejection, but it can't survive being ignored. Ignoring an ego is like starving a fire. It dies slower, but it dies for good. They tried to test you in small ways before, remember? The delayed replies, the dry texts, the subtle coldness. They wanted to see how far you'd bend, how long you'd wait. It was never about you not being enough. It was about them needing proof that they still had influence. And when that proof disappeared, it created a panic they can't explain. They didn't realize how addicted they were to your energy until the withdrawals began. Now, they scroll through your old messages, not because they miss the words, but because they miss the feeling of being seen through your eyes. You became their mirror, and your attention was the reflection they depended on. When that mirror vanished, they were forced to look at themselves directly, without your light, without your care, without your validation. And that's when they saw it, the emptiness. Because the truth is, folks, some people build their confidence from external praise instead of inner growth. When you took away the external source, they were left standing in front of their own insecurities, and that's not a reflection anyone enjoys facing. And I know what you might be thinking right now. If they depended on me that much, why didn't they just appreciate me when I was there? Because appreciation requires awareness, and awareness requires humility. The ego doesn't have humility. It has hunger. It wants to be fed, not to understand. It's like a spoiled child that only cries louder when you stop giving it what it wants. But here's the thing. Silence is the cure the ego can't digest. Your silence became their first lesson in reality. When you stopped trying, something deeper began to happen. They felt smaller. They felt ordinary. They felt what it's like to exist without your emotional investment holding them up. That's the power dynamic flipping right before your eyes. Jung believed that the parts of ourselves we refuse to acknowledge, the shadow, eventually demand our attention. Your silence forced them into their own shadow. You became the mirror that disappeared, and that disappearance exposed everything they'd been avoiding inside themselves. So, yes, it might feel hard at first, not reaching out, not explaining, not chasing the closure you think you deserve. But this is how real growth begins, in restraint, not reaction. When you stop feeding someone's ego, you start feeding your own peace. You stop looking for answers outside yourself and start realizing that the closure you needed was never in their hands. It was in your own decision to stop running in circles. Think of it like this. If a song keeps playing on repeat, it eventually loses meaning. They thought they could hit play on your heart whenever they wanted. But now the music stopped, and all they're left with is silence, the kind that gets under your skin. They don't know how to fill that silence because it's the sound of consequences, the sound of realization. So if you ever doubt yourself, remember this: you didn't lose by walking away. You reclaimed your energy, your time, your mind. And the moment you did that, the entire game lost meaning. What once fed their ego now starves it. What once gave them power now exposes their weakness. That's not revenge. That's nature restoring balance. My friends, write this down in the comments and mean it when you do. I don't chase. I choose peace, because that's what this journey is about. Not proving anything, but mastering yourself. Your silence isn't punishment. It's proof of evolution. You didn't go quiet because you lost interest. You went quiet because you finally realized your worth doesn't need noise to be heard. Number 2. The shock of your absence. When attention disappears, reality hits. It's a strange thing, my friends, how quickly people forget the hands that held them steady. You were their constant, the one who showed up, the one who checked in, the one who made their world a little softer without asking for much in return. They got used to that rhythm, that quiet reliability, the way you made them feel seen without needing attention for yourself. You became their comfort zone, a place of warmth they never had to question. But then one day, that comfort vanished. The messages stopped. The light went out. And in that stillness, something inside them began to tremble. At first, they tried to act unaffected. They told themselves you'd be back, that this was just another phase. After all, you'd always been the one to fix things, to start the conversation again, to smooth out the awkward silences they created. But this time, the silence stayed. And that silence, my friends, hit harder than any words ever could. It exposed a truth they never wanted to face. They weren't strong without your energy. You see, it's human nature to undervalue what feels guaranteed. Carl Jung said that we often project our unconscious needs onto others, and that's exactly what they did to you. You became their emotional anchor, even while they pretended to be independent. They didn't see that every good morning text you sent was actually stabilizing their mood. Every time you listened, you gave them peace. Every time you cared, you gave them belonging. You were like sunlight, reliable, warm, life-giving, and they never thought about what would happen if the sun stopped showing up. But when that light disappeared, the cold set in fast. Their dopamine levels, once fed by your attention, began to crash. Every unread notification became a reminder of absence. Every time their phone stayed silent, it whispered your name in their mind. That's the science of it. The same chemicals that once made your presence comforting now make your absence unbearable. Their body remembers you before their pride allows them to admit it. That's the cruel irony of the human mind. It adjusts to comfort, but it panics at loss. So they tried to fight it. They scrolled through distractions, filled their days with noise, flirted with strangers just to feel something again, but nothing hit the same. Nobody remembered the small details you did. Nobody laughed the same way, listened the same way, or made them feel safe the same way. You see, people can mimic attention, but they can't replicate connection, and deep down, they know it. The very silence they once took as indifference has now turned into the mirror, reflecting their own emptiness back at them. And that's when confusion starts to set in. They begin asking themselves questions they never cared about before. Why aren't you talking? Who are you giving your attention to now? Did you replace them? That curiosity turns into anxiety, and that anxiety turns into obsession. You're not chasing anymore, but now they're the ones haunted by the quiet. That's the beauty of Stoicism. You didn't have to argue. You didn't have to prove your worth. You simply let absence teach the lesson that your words never could. The shock of your absence wasn't just emotional, it was existential. It made them confront the reality that your presence wasn't a guarantee, it was a gift. And now, every time they think of you, it's not comfort they feel, it's regret. Because you didn't leave in anger, you just stopped showing up. And that's the kind of loss that stays with people. So when you doubt yourself, when that little voice inside whispers that maybe you should reach out, remember this: you already said everything you needed to say through your silence. You taught them that respect isn't begged for, it's earned through appreciation. You taught them that attention is not a currency to manipulate, but a privilege to value. And you taught them that love without gratitude turns into loneliness very quickly. Let the silence keep doing its work. Don't rush to fill it. Don't save them from the emptiness they created, because every quiet night, every unanswered thought, every empty screen is reminding them of the one person who truly cared, and the one mistake they'll never stop replaying. Take a deep breath, my friends, and let this truth settle in your chest. You didn't disappear out of weakness. You withdrew because your peace finally mattered more than their confusion. And that's your victory. Write it down below, as a reminder to yourself and others walking the same path. My absence teaches louder than my words. Number 3. The dopamine drought. Why they crave the one who went silent. You might think silence is just nothing, empty space. But to their brain, my friends, it's a storm. It's the kind of chaos that rattles the nervous system because the comfort they once got from you, that rush of validation, that small spark of importance every time your name appeared, has vanished. You see, they weren't just talking to you, they were feeding off you. Every message, every reply, every laugh was like a hit of dopamine, the brain's favorite feel-good chemical. And like any addiction, they didn't realize how dependent they'd become until the supply stopped coming. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That's exactly what's happening to them now. They thought they were just enjoying attention, but deep down, your presence was shaping their emotional chemistry. You became their reward system, their instant confirmation that they still mattered, that they were still in control. And when you went silent, that control dissolved. Now they're in withdrawal, not from love, but from the emotional high you once gave them. At first, they brushed it off. They told themselves you'd come back, that you were just being dramatic or trying to get a reaction. But as hours turned into days, something began to shift. The calm they claimed to enjoy started feeling like a void. Their thoughts began to race, their mind searching for that familiar spark, your message, your voice, your energy. That craving, my friends, isn't romance, it's biology. Their brain got used to being rewarded by you, and now it's starving for that same chemical comfort. So what do? They scroll. They check your page, your last scene, your old messages, not because they care about the words, but because their brain is looking for the feeling. That small surge of dopamine that used to hit when your name lit up their screen. That's why they hover over your name at midnight, fighting the urge to reach out. They're chasing that emotional fix. They're trying to recreate what they lost. But it's gone. You interrupted the pattern. You broke the loop. Your silence, though it felt hard at first, became their detox. You stripped away the illusion of control they had. You made them feel what you once felt: uncertainty, doubt, longing. But here's the difference. While your silence healed you, theirs is hurting them. You're at peace, they're restless. You're learning how to be calm in your own company, while they're learning what it means to lose access to someone who genuinely cared. Isn't it strange how the tables always turn? You were once the one overthinking, wondering if they missed you, replaying old moments in your mind. But now, they're the ones caught in that loop, haunted by the very silence they once took for granted. You've become the ghost in their algorithm, the thought that sneaks into their mind when they least expect it. Every song, every quote, every quiet night reminds them of the calm they destroyed. And that's the thing about silence. It doesn't just disappear into thin air. It echoes, it lingers, it grows. Every day you don't reach out, the craving deepens. They can distract themselves for hours, maybe days, but that quiet moment always comes, the one where they reach for their phone out of habit and realize it's still blank. No new message, no notification, just their own thoughts staring back at them. That's the real withdrawal. So if you're sitting there wondering whether they miss you, whether they feel your absence, understand this: silence isn't absence. It's power. You didn't lose them. You just became the mystery their dopamine can't forget. You stopped being their easy fix and turned into their greatest what if. And that, my friends, is your strength. You no longer chase validation. You've outgrown the game that once trapped you. Let them crave. Let them overthink. Let them scroll through memories like a junkie looking for a high. Because what they're chasing isn't you anymore. It's the feeling only you could create. Write this in the comments as a reminder of your power and your growth. I'm not their addiction. I'm their lesson. Number 4. The reversal. Now they're the ones checking their phone. You remember those nights when you'd stare at your phone, waiting for their name to appear on the screen like it carried oxygen? Every vibration made your heart skip. Every minute of silence felt like an hour. You rehearsed messages in your head, deleted them, rewrote them, deleted them again, just to keep your dignity intact. You tried to sound calm when inside you were restless. That was your past. That was your test. And now, my friends, the tables have quietly turned. The universe, in its poetic way, has balanced the scales. Because today, they're the ones trapped in that waiting room of uncertainty, checking, refreshing, unlocking, locking, unlocking again, hoping for a message that never comes. At first, they didn't notice the shift. They assumed you'd eventually fold like before. They thought, give it a few days, they'll reach out. That's what their ego told them, that they were still the prize, still the center of your world. But time started moving differently for them. Hours began to stretch. Nights became longer. And when the silence kept stretching with no response, a new emotion started creeping in. Doubt. Not about you, but about themselves. They began asking questions they never expected to ask. Did I push too far? Did I lose them for good? Did they stop caring? Or did they finally realize they deserve better? That's the real reversal. It doesn't happen loudly. It doesn't happen with arguments or explanations. It happens quietly, through absence, through the space your silence created. And in that space, their minds started to echo. Every conversation you ever had plays back now. Every word, every tone, every small detail they once ignored. They try to pinpoint when the warmth left your voice, when your patience started to fade. They keep searching for the moment the version of you they controlled slipped away. But the truth is, there was no single moment. It was a slow awakening. You simply stopped trying to fix what was breaking you. Psychologically, it's fascinating. When people lose control, their mind creates illusions to cope. There's even a name for it, the phantom text effect. It's when someone imagines the sound of a message that doesn't exist. They feel their phone buzz, only to realize it's just wishful thinking. Their brain, once comforted by your consistent communication, now invents it out of habit. They hear ghosts of conversations that no longer exist. And the silence. It becomes louder by the hour. You've probably wondered before if your absence even mattered. whether your silence had weight, whether they'd even notice. Now you know, because while you've grown calmer, they've grown restless. While your peace expanded, their control shrank. The same phone that once made you anxious is now their mirror, reflecting their own uncertainty back at them. Every time they check for your message, they relive the same emotional loop that once kept you captive. And here's where it gets beautiful. The energy you pulled back didn't vanish. It reversed direction. The same attention that used to flow toward them now pulls them toward you. They think about you more than they'll ever admit. They wonder what you're doing, who you're talking to, if someone else gets to see the version of you they took for granted. They scroll your socials quietly, pretending not to care while their stomach twists at the thought of your silence meaning freedom. That's what happens when the chaser becomes the chased. You stopped needing their attention, and suddenly yours became the rarest thing in their world. Now, they're the ones caught between ego and emotion, too proud to reach out, too haunted to let go. You don't need revenge. This is the balance. So stand tall in that silence, my friends. Don't break it just to remind them you're still there. They already know. They feel it every time their phone lights up. And it's not you. They feel it every night when they scroll and realize the story's still unfinished. You've become the question that won't leave their mind, the closure they'll never get, the peace they can't find again. Write this in the comments below as your reminder. The tables have turned. My silence speaks louder. Number 5. Regret rewired. Their brain remembers what their pride forgot. Regret is a patient visitor, my friends. It doesn't knock loudly. It slips in quietly through memory, through scent, through sound. It lives in those random moments when they least expect it. A song that reminds them of your voice, a street that looks like a place you once walked together, a photo that shows a smile too familiar to ignore. Regret doesn't strike like lightning. It drips like rain, slowly, consistently. Until one day they realize the storm isn't outside them anymore, it's inside. Because what the mind remembers, the ego tries to forget, and what the heart refuses to release becomes a ghost that lingers. At the time they felt powerful, pushing you away. Pride whispered in their ear, telling them they were in control. They thought they had time, options, leverage. You see, people confuse validation for love. They believed that as long as attention existed somewhere, they'd never miss yours. They thought you'd always be around, like a familiar book on a shelf they could pick up whenever they got bored. But neuroscience and life have a way of humbling arrogance. When that steady source of emotional safety disappears, the brain starts scrambling for it like a lost signal. It starts replaying the old rhythm, your tone, your kindness, your energy. Their mind begins searching for familiarity, and every path leads back to you. Now, every trigger, every laugh that sounds almost like yours, every word that carries your rhythm, fires up the same neural pathways that once activated when they spoke to you. It's science, not sentiment. Their brain releases the same chemicals it once did when you texted them, but now there's no reward. There's no reply, no closure. That's what rewires regret. The human mind hates unfinished stories, and you became theirs. The last chapter is still open, and they can't stop flipping through the pages of what-ifs. Carl Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life, and you will call it fate." That's what's happening to them now. Their subconscious is replaying everything their pride tried to bury. They remember your patience, the way you stayed even when you shouldn't have. They remember your gentleness in moments they met you with coldness. They remember that no matter how difficult things got, You cared in ways that didn't make sense to them back then. And now those same memories feel sharper, louder, almost painful, because they see now what they couldn't see before. You weren't chasing them, you were loving them. The irony? They thought they ended the story. They believed that by pulling away, they held the final word. But silence flipped the script. You took back authorship without writing a single sentence. Now, they're the reader, trapped in a story that keeps rewriting itself in their mind. They reread every moment, trying to spot where they lost you. Their pride still whispers, "Don't reach out," but their emotions scream louder, "You lost something real." And those two voices are at war, logic fighting memory, ego fighting heart. You might wonder, will they ever truly realize what they did? The truth is, they already have. They just won't admit it yet, because admitting it means confronting the part of themselves that ruined something pure. Regret, my friends, doesn't fade. It loops. It revisits the same scenes over and over, but each time it plays with new understanding. The same words they once ignored now sound heavier. The same love they once dismissed now feels sacred. And every loop cuts deeper, not because of what you did, but because of what they didn't do when they had the chance. They'll carry that feeling everywhere, into new conversations, new connections, new distractions, but nothing will feel quite right. Because when the mind has tasted genuine peace, everything else feels temporary. That's why their regret won't die. It will evolve, disguise itself as nostalgia, then longing, then quiet sadness that no one else can soothe. And one day, when they least expect it, they'll find themselves staring at your name on their phone. Their thumb will hover over the keyboard. They'll almost type, almost, because pride still wants to win, even after losing everything. But here's what they'll never realize. You already won. Your silence was never punishment. It was transformation. You became the lesson their pride couldn't learn through comfort. You became the voice in their mind, reminding them that arrogance costs more than they thought. And that's the power of letting go. You don't have to prove a thing. Time and memory will do the work for you. So take this truth with you, my friends. You didn't lose them. You simply outgrew the version of yourself that tolerated their pride. Their regret is proof of your value. Write it down in the comments below, loud and proud. My peace rewired their regret. Number 6. The illusion breaks. They realize replacements don't feel the same. When they lost you, they didn't go inward. They went looking for copies. That's what most people do when they don't want to face the truth. They try to replace energy with distraction. They scroll through new faces, go on meaningless dates, chase moments that feel exciting for 5 minutes but empty right after. It's not love they're searching for. It's relief. Relief from the silence you left behind. At first, they convinced themselves it was working. The laughs, the attention, the temporary thrill. It felt like escape. But the illusion only lasts until reality sobers them up. Because when the conversation ends and the phone goes dark, they feel that emptiness again. The problem isn't the people they meet. It's that no one carries your frequency. No one knows how to match your emotional rhythm. You had a presence that didn't need effort. Your voice had warmth that made ordinary things feel personal. That's when they realize attraction was never their problem, connection was. They can attract anyone, but they can't connect like they did with you. Psychology calls this the imprint effect. When someone creates an emotional mark deep enough, every new experience is unconsciously compared to that memory. So, every time they try to start fresh, they're actually chasing a ghost, you. And they'll never admit it, but even during their so-called happy moments, your name flashes in their mind like static on a clear channel. That's how the illusion breaks. They realize the replacement feels forced, the laughter feels hollow, the attention feels cheap, And suddenly, every new face becomes a mirror that reminds them of what they lost. That's the moment their arrogance turns into confusion, because they can't understand how something that felt replaceable now feels unforgettable. That's the hidden cost of playing games with a genuine soul. They traded substance for surface, and now they're choking on emptiness. Let them pretend they've moved on. Let them post, let them smile, let them perform. Because deep down, they know nobody feels like you did. Nobody ever will. Number 7. Your stillness speaks louder. The Stoic power of non-reaction. There's a moment when silence stops being passive and becomes powerful. That's where you are now. You didn't argue. You didn't explain yourself 100 times. You didn't chase clarity from someone who already knew how much you cared. You just stopped. And that stillness, that calm refusal to react, became the loudest message you could have sent. People underestimate silence because they confuse it with weakness. But in Stoic psychology, non-reaction is emotional mastery. It's the point where you no longer seek validation through chaos. You stopped feeding the fire, and that's exactly why they feel cold now. They expected you to respond, to fold, to show that you still cared. Instead, you chose dignity over drama, and nothing unsettles the manipulative mind more than losing the emotional control they once had over you. Every time you stay silent, you teach them something. You teach them that not everyone can be guilted into coming back. You teach them that indifference can be more haunting than anger. And you teach them that your peace is no longer for sale. That's why they keep checking your socials, waiting for some kind of reaction, even a subtle one. Because your silence makes them wonder if you're over them or just evolved past needing them. They can't decode it. And that confusion, that's the consequence of underestimating a calm soul. The more you stay silent, the louder your value becomes. You're no longer in their emotional arena, you've risen above it. That's what Stoicism really is, power in composure. So don't break that silence just to prove a point. The silence is the point. Every unspoken word, every unanswered text, every unread message, it all echoes with one undeniable truth. You're not the same person they left. You're stronger now, harder to read, impossible to manipulate. And in that quiet strength, they finally feel what you once did: uncertainty, longing, and regret. They don't realize it yet, but your silence isn't absence, it's evolution. Number 8. The return. They'll come back, but you won't be waiting the same way. It always ends the same way. They circle back. It might take weeks, months, or even years, but the silence always calls them home. The same silence they once mocked now pulls them in like gravity. They'll show up casually, pretending they were just checking in, acting like they never vanished. But behind every message, every "Hey, how have you been?" there's a quiet confession. They never stopped thinking about you. They'll tell themselves it's closure. They'll claim they just want peace. But deep down, they want to know if the door's still open. That's human nature. The mind can't let go of something that once gave it safety. And no matter how many distractions they've had, every connection since you has felt shallow compared to the depth you offered. The universe has a way of humbling people who take genuine love for granted. It doesn't punish them with pain. It punishes them with realization. You'll notice it when they return, the way their tone softens, their words hesitate, their confidence wavers. Because now they're not sure of their place in your life. They used to know you'd answer instantly. Now, they're the ones overthinking every word, terrified you'll ignore them the way they once ignored you. That's what your silence did. It flipped the power dynamic permanently. But here's the real twist. When they come back, you'll feel different. You won't crave their attention the same way. You won't beg for explanations or replays of old pain. You've already built peace without them. And that peace changes everything. So yes, they'll come back. They'll remember what they lost, what they dismissed, what they can't replace. But this time, the version of you that once waited is gone. The new you doesn't chase. You attract. You don't explain. You observe. You don't beg. You choose. And when they finally realize that you were the one thing they couldn't manipulate, control, or replace, that's when they'll understand the truth. Silence wasn't your revenge. It was your graduation. And that's the truth. Silence spoke louder than any message ever could. You didn't lose them. You taught them what losing you feels like. Now they're haunted by the peace you found. So remember, you never need to chase what's already missing you in silence. Let the universe handle the echo. If this message hit home, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who needs that reminder. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't anger, it's quiet evolution. Stay strong, stay grounded, and let your silence keep speaking for you.